Picture this. It's Sunday night. Tomorrow is Monday. And your chest is already tight. Not because anything bad happened this weekend. Not because you have a presentation or a difficult meeting lined up. Just Monday. Just the idea of walking back into that building, sitting under those fluorescent lights, hearing the same overlapping conversations, feeling that invisible weight of everyone else's moods pressing into you all day long. And the worst part? You can't explain it to anyone. Because on paper, your life is fine. Good job. People who care about you. A roof over your head. And yet, there's this constant low-level exhaustion that never fully goes away. This feeling that you're always running on 60%, even on your best days. So you Google it. You read articles. You try meditating. You try journaling. You try just pushing through. And nothing sticks. Because nobody is giving you the right map for how your mind actually works. That ends today. This video is your field guide. Not a motivational speech. Not a list of tips you'll forget by Tuesday. A real, practical guide to understanding why you experience the world so intensely. And how to build a life structure that finally works with you instead of against you. By the end of this, you're going to understand something that most people never figure out about themselves. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's get into it. Here's a question nobody asks enough. Why do some people walk into a crowded party and immediately feel energized, laughing louder, talking faster, lighting up the room? While others walk into that exact same party and within 20 minutes, feel like they need to find a quiet closet just to breathe? Same room. Same music. Same people. Completely different internal experience. For a long time, science didn't have a great answer for this. We just said things like, oh, she's an introvert or he's just sensitive. As if sensitivity was a personality flaw someone needed to apologize for. But in the 1990s, a psychologist named Dr. Elaine Aron started studying this more seriously. And what she found changed everything for millions of people. She discovered that roughly 15 to 20% of the population has a nervous system that is fundamentally wired to process information more deeply than average. These individuals, she called them highly sensitive people, don't just notice more. They process more. They feel more. They connect more dots, pick up more emotional nuance, and experience both beauty and stress at a much higher intensity than most people around them. This isn't anxiety. It's not a disorder. It's not something that happened to you. It's how you were built. Think of it this way. Imagine two cameras sitting side by side, both pointed at the same sunset. One is a standard camera. It captures the image cleanly. Beautiful photo. Does the job perfectly. The other camera is a high-resolution professional model. It captures every gradient of color in the sky, every texture in the clouds, every subtle shift in light at the horizon. The image is almost overwhelming in its detail. Which camera is better? That's the wrong question. The right question is, are you using the right camera for the right conditions? Because that high-resolution camera in bad lighting, in a chaotic environment, without the proper settings adjusted, it struggles. It overexposes. It freezes up. That's you in a world that was designed for standard settings. Here's where it gets really interesting. Your sensitivity isn't a modern glitch. It's actually an ancient feature. Researchers in evolutionary biology have studied this trait across dozens of species. And they found it in fish, birds, dogs, primates. It exists across the animal kingdom because it served a very specific purpose. In small tribal communities thousands of years ago, having a few members who were deeply attuned to subtle environmental changes was a survival advantage. They noticed the shift in animal behavior before a storm. They sensed tension between neighboring groups before it turned dangerous. They picked up on the quiet suffering of someone in the tribe before it became a crisis. You were the early warning system. The deep feeler. The one who kept the group safe not through brute force, but through awareness. The problem isn't your sensitivity. The problem is the speed at which the world changed. Because that same nervous system that would have been a quiet, tuned instrument. In a slower, simpler world is now being asked to process an open-plan office. With 40 people on simultaneous Zoom calls. A phone that buzzes 14 times an hour. A news cycle that never stops. Social media designed by neuroscientists specifically to keep you in a state of mild anxiety so you keep scrolling. You weren't designed for this volume. Nobody was, really. But for you, it hits differently. It hits harder. And that's why you need a greenhouse. Let's be very clear about something. A greenhouse isn't a hiding place. It isn't about retreating from life or wrapping yourself in bubble wrap and hoping the world leaves you alone. A greenhouse is a deliberate system. A set of carefully chosen conditions that allow something naturally fragile to become extraordinarily strong. Walk into any botanical garden and look at the orchid section. Those flowers are extraordinary. Colors you won't find anywhere else in nature. Patterns that look almost designed. An elegance that stops people in their tracks. But here's the thing about orchids that most people don't know. In the wrong conditions, wrong temperature, wrong humidity, wrong light, they don't just struggle. They shut down completely. They go dormant. They look dead. Put that same orchid in the right greenhouse. It doesn't just survive. It becomes one of the most stunning things you've ever seen. You are that orchid. And building your greenhouse isn't about weakness. It's about being smart enough to understand what you actually need, in order to become what you're actually capable of. So let's build it. 2 sections. Internal structure first. Then external boundaries. The first wall of your greenhouse is what I call your input inventory. Most people go through their entire day without ever consciously choosing what they allow into their awareness. Notifications come in, they respond. Conversations happen, they engage. Environments change, they absorb. It's all completely automatic. For a highly sensitive person, this automatic mode is devastating. Because every input you receive, every sound, every emotional undercurrent in a room, every piece of distressing news, every unresolved tension in a conversation, gets processed deeply, whether you ask it to or not. So you have to become deliberate about your inputs. Like a chef who is obsessive about the quality of ingredients. Because what goes in determines everything about what comes out. Start with your mornings. The first 30 minutes after you wake up are neurologically significant. Your brain is in a transitional state, moving from sleep to wakefulness. And it's particularly impressionable during this window. What you feed it first sets the emotional baseline for your entire day. Most people grab their phone within 2 minutes of waking up. And immediately, the algorithm decides what matters. Conflict, outrage, comparison, anxiety, all before you've had a single sip of water. Try something different. For the first 20 minutes after waking, protect your attention. Like it's the most valuable thing you own. Because for you, it is. Sit with a warm drink. Look out a window. Let your nervous system ease into the day on its own terms instead of being launched into someone else's chaos. This one shift alone will change your afternoons. The second wall is your recovery architecture. High sensitivity doesn't mean you need to do less. It means you need to recover more intentionally between doing things. Think of your nervous system like a muscle. Professional athletes don't just train harder than everyone else. They also recover harder than everyone else. Ice baths, sleep protocols, nutrition timing, active rest. Recovery isn't passive for them. It's a structured, serious practice. Your emotional and sensory recovery needs to be the same. Identify 2 or 3 specific places in your daily environment that can serve as your reset points. Not somewhere you go to escape, but somewhere you go to actively decompress. A specific bench in a park near your office. A particular room in your home with minimal clutter and soft light. Even just your car, in a quiet parking spot, engine off, no phone. When you feel that specific kind of tiredness, not sleepy, but overstimulated, slightly irritable, mentally blurry, that's your signal. Don't push through it. Navigate to your reset point. 10 minutes of genuine quiet. No content consumption. No problem solving. Just stillness. You're not being unproductive. You're maintaining the instrument. The third wall is your sensory environment design. Walk through your home tonight and ask yourself one question about every single thing in your space. Does this add to my nervous system or take from it? Clutter is visual noise. For a sensitive person, walking into a chaotic room isn't just mildly annoying. It's genuinely taxing. It signals unresolved things. Incompleteness. Your brain registers it all and quietly adds it to the processing queue. Simplifying your physical space isn't a decorating preference. It's maintenance. The same goes for lighting. Harsh overhead lighting keeps your nervous system in a low-grade alert state. Warm, softer light in the evenings tells your body the high-alert portion of the day is over. This isn't spiritual. It's biological. Pay attention to texture. What you wear against your skin matters. Scratchy fabrics, tight collars, anything that creates constant minor irritation. Your nervous system is logging all of it, all day. Small friction adds up to significant drain. You have permission to be particular about these things. Choosiness about your sensory environment isn't fussiness. It's engineering. The internal structure keeps you regulated, but the outer walls, your relational boundaries, determine how long that regulation lasts. Once you step back into the world. Here's the honest truth about being highly sensitive in relationships. You don't just hear people. You absorb them. When your colleague is frustrated, you don't just notice it. You feel the edge of it yourself. When someone you love is going through something painful, their pain doesn't stay with them, it moves into you. You carry it home. You lie awake thinking about it. You feel responsible for fixing it even when it isn't yours to fix. This is called emotional contagion, and for HSPs it's significantly amplified. The first boundary your greenhouse needs is what I call the glass wall principle. A greenhouse has glass walls. You can see everything happening outside. The rain, the wind, the chaos of the natural world. You're not blind to it. You're not numb to it. But you're not standing in it either. The glass wall in your relationships means learning to be fully present with someone's pain, without merging with it. This is different from being cold. This is different from being distant. You can look someone in the eye, genuinely understand what they're going through, hold space for their experience, and still remain rooted in your own emotional ground. The practice is simple, but it takes repetition. When someone around you is in distress, silently name it to yourself. This is their pain. I can see it clearly. I don't need to become it to care about it. That internal narration keeps you as the witness instead of the absorber. You help people far more effectively from the shore than you do from the water. The second outer wall is your response delay system. Sensitive people are particularly vulnerable to a specific social trap. Someone asks you for something, your time, your energy, your presence at an event you don't have capacity for. And before your rational brain has even processed the request, your body has already started saying yes. Because you felt their hope when they asked. You felt how much it means to them. And the idea of disappointing someone you care about is genuinely uncomfortable. In a way that most people don't fully understand. So you say yes. And you resent it later. And then you feel guilty for resenting it. And the whole cycle drains you. The solution is radical simplicity. You need a single sentence that becomes automatic. Let me take a look at what I have going on and get back to you. That's it. That's the whole system. It creates a buffer between the emotional impulse and the actual decision. It gives your rational mind time to weigh in. It is not rude. It is not flaky. It is the single most protective habit you can build. People who matter to you will respect it. People who don't respect it are giving you very useful information. The third outer wall is your circle audit. Not every person in your life has earned a place in your greenhouse. This sounds harsh. It isn't. It's just honest. Energy is not infinite. Attention is not infinite. Emotional bandwidth is not infinite. And for a highly sensitive person, these resources deplete faster and refill slower than they do for most people around you. You need to get honest about who you spend time with and how you feel afterward. Not during, after. Because sometimes a conversation is entertaining in the moment, but leaves you feeling hollow or heavy hours later. After your next 5 meaningful social interactions, ask yourself one question. Did that leave me with more energy or less? This isn't about cutting people off. It's about calibrating. Seeing some people less often. Setting clearer expectations about what kinds of conversations you're available for. Choosing depth over frequency. You are not a public utility. Access to you is a privilege. And your greenhouse should only be open to the people who treat it that way. Here is what happens if you don't do any of this. It doesn't happen dramatically. That's the danger. There's no single moment where you break down and realize you need to change. It happens quietly. Incrementally. You just get slightly more tired each month than you were the month before. You become slightly less excited by things that used to genuinely move you. Your creativity shows up less reliably. Your patience shortens. Your joy gets a little quieter. You're still functioning. Still showing up. Still doing all the things. But there's less of you doing them. Researchers call this emotional numbing. When a highly sensitive nervous system is chronically overwhelmed without sufficient recovery, it begins to dial down its own sensitivity as a protective mechanism. The very thing that makes you extraordinary, your depth of feeling, your ability to notice what others miss, your capacity for genuine connection, gets muted. Not because you chose it. Not because something bad happened. But simply because you never built the structure that would have let you sustain it. This is not abstract. This is happening to people right now who think they're just tired. Don't let it happen quietly to you. Everything we've talked about today only works if it's built on one foundational belief. That your sensitivity is not a problem to be managed. It is a capacity to be cultivated. The world tends to reward a very specific style of engagement. Loud. Fast. Decisive. High volume. High output. Never showing uncertainty. Never needing recovery. Moving on before things are fully processed. That style works for a lot of people. It doesn't work for you. And spending your life trying to perform that version of yourself is like trying to use that high-resolution camera in settings it wasn't built for, and then blaming the camera when the photo comes out wrong. You're not the wrong camera. You're just in the wrong settings. When you start building your greenhouse, something unexpected happens. You stop apologizing for needing what you need. You stop performing a version of resilience that was never yours to begin with. And in that space, in that quiet, deliberate, carefully constructed space, something extraordinary starts to emerge. The creativity that was always in you but never had silence to develop. The depth of connection you're capable of when you're not burning all your energy on basic survival. The insight. The intuition. The ability to walk into a room and understand something about the emotional truth of what's happening that takes everyone else weeks to notice. That's the orchid in the right greenhouse. That's you, finally in the right conditions. So here's where we land. You don't need to become someone else. You don't need to be louder, tougher, more resilient in the way the world keeps telling you to be. You need to become a better architect of your own life. Start today. Not with everything at once. Just one thing. Maybe it's protecting your first 20 minutes tomorrow morning. Maybe it's texting back, "Let me check and get back to you," the next time someone asks for something you don't have capacity for. Maybe it's spending 10 minutes tonight simplifying one small corner of your living space. One greenhouse wall. That's all you need to build today. Because that's how it starts. One wall. Then another. Then one day you look around and realize you've built something that finally fits. The way you actually work. If this hit differently for you today, hit subscribe. Because this channel exists for people who feel things deeply and want to understand themselves more clearly. And we're just getting started. Next video, we're going to talk about why highly sensitive people often attract emotionally unavailable partners, and the specific pattern that keeps it happening. You're not going to want to miss that one. I'll see you there.